Terraria is the kind of game that can only come from a young indie developer. It wasn't made with the input of a full team of experienced designers, programmers, artists, and sound technicians. It wasn't made to be the latest in a line of successful multimedia experiences. It wasn't made with any budget or clue as to whether or not it would even be commercially viable. It was made by someone who loves games, had some basic understanding of how to make them, and wanted to make a game that he would like to play. It feels more like a NES or even a Game Boy game that just kinda expounded out of control, rather than something that came out in 2011. Terraria has a fundamental aspect of design so hard-focused into its very basemost identity and core that I'd argue it's the thesis of the experience as a whole. Focus on the basics, make them amazing. Then, just make more. So, what is Terraria? Terraria is a deforestation simulator where you play as a drug-addled lumberjack who's lost his job due to union collapse and mechanization of the industry, lashing out in violence against the corporate machine because you're far too old and lack the capacity to obtain new marketable skills due to your rampant iron skin abuse and irrational caveman-like fear of new things and change. So you begin a righteous crusade against those which seek to keep you down and fight the man, including slimes, the living dead, flora, Big Brother, giant tapeworms, crippling self-doubt and existential dread, more slimes, noisy neighbors, this harlot, fey creatures seeking to undermine your employability and flood the market with cheap timepieces, slimes again, demons, bone serpents, goblins, and just so many types of slime. There's even two bosses that are slime.
The first day, you're just figuring out which way is up and which way is down. Your memories wretched from your own heart. You lack conviction and direction. So, you kill some slimes, and maybe explore a cave. You're like a newborn, only instead of a mother's love, you receive a crash course in the law of violence. It's a simple law, really. Eat or be eaten, kill or be killed, conquer or fall to dust in despair. Claim what you can by your own conviction, strength of will, and skill at arms. Or be crushed by those who have. I'll let you guess which I chose.
Narrative. Terraria doesn't really have a story. It has lore for sure. The guide is apparently some kind of semi-retired adventurer and explorer, who, for whatever reason, insists on using a wooden bow. The bosses are all eldritch horrors, and aliens are both real and quite annoying. Terraria, as a result, has as much story as you choose to give it, like being a delusional wretch with an IQ lower than a bucket of sand, a substance abuse problem, and an unhealthy obsession with axes, or maybe a young mage, learning the arcane arts to protect his world from coming darkness. Perhaps you prefer to be a ranger, a sniper, a bee? Be whatever you want. Tell whatever story you want to tell. The gameplay of Terraria is pure and simple. Fight, explore, collect, construct, repeat. There's a very clear and easy to follow line of progression and advancement. Tired of killing local fauna and running from the elderly? Find some ore, make some armor and weapons. Plumb the depths, find hearts, explore the moonlit surface, find stars. Use the power of the lucky charms to increase your base attributes. And then, find new things to fight, new things to explore, new things to kill. Terraria is fun. Just that. It's fun because jumping is fun. Placing and destroying blocks is fun. Swinging a sword, shooting a bow, casting a spell, summoning a minion feels fun and good. It's responsive, quick, visually and auditorially satisfying. Hitting enemies results in a noise, knockback, and particle effects. This screams at the basic, most fundamental parts of the human brain that demand stimulus and responsiveness from our environment. The colors, the sounds, the animations, they sing to our souls, and this is ultimately the core of what makes Terraria amazing. Relogic knew this, and they just stepped out of the way and let it happen. There's no bloat, no storyline, no required quests. The very gates of progression that let you access new content are baked into the experience itself, practically without any dialogue. You can ask the guide for help on what to do next, but honestly, you could figure out every step of in-game progression by just running around, exploring, and experimenting. You find an ore you can't mine, probably takes a stronger pick. Can't beat a boss, you probably need better equipment. Don't know where to go? Just explore. You'll figure it out. If you do run into a problem, you can always look it up on the wiki. It's not like you're going to spoil a story or anything. There's some side stuff in there too. You could go fishing, build nice houses, even grow your own potion ingredients. Do a quest or two for the angler. But none of that is required. You can easily complete the entire game without ever engaging with any of this stuff if you don't want to. And that's beautiful. Terraria is a whimsical and joyful experience, where you kind of make your own fun and move at your own pace through the content, allowing you to customize how difficult you want your experience to be. Let me give you an example. You can fight the Eye of Cthulhu or even Skeletron on your first night with some careful planning and adept maneuvers. Or you can take your time to build up your character, get a full set of high-level armor, max out your HP and MP, and trivialize the encounters, 15 hours into a playthrough. You have options to make the experience exactly as difficult as you want it to be, and that's before even considering the diverse options of world and character difficulty available to you before you even begin the game. For new or returning players, make a journey character and play in a journey world, or if you want a more traditional experience, a softcore character on a standard difficulty world. Keep your money in a chest until you can buy a piggy bank, then keep it in your piggy bank. And hey, it's always more fun with friends. One complaint I do have is how many of the early NPCs' dialogue seems mean-spirited towards the player. It doesn't feel welcoming, and as a result I don't feel nearly as attached to these characters as I otherwise would. They don't seem to care much about me, so why should I care about them? Because they sell me things? I made their houses. I'm more or less a landlord to them, and unfortunately they treat me like it. This is mostly with the merchant, the nurse, the arms dealer, and the dryad, which comprise a majority of the early NPCs in the game. If you want someone to feel welcomed to an experience, it helps to have characters in this world who are happy to have them around, which makes the guide's dialogue perfectly acceptable. It's really more of a nitpick, admittedly, but in the case of Terraria, I stand by it. Terraria, for all its faults and flaws, has always been the same game at its core, and its additional features and updates since its release have only acted to upgrade that core. Visually, Terraria is amazing. It's colorful, bright, responsive. It paints a world you want to play in and interact with. There isn't a single time I didn't get a new weapon and immediately try it out just to see what it looks like. Visually, Terraria is a masterpiece, make no mistake. I find myself trying to fill space just to show off more of the weapons and what they can do, which is all the more impressive when you consider Terraria doesn't really have animations. It's like sprite rotation or spawning an occasionally animated projectile. Even the player's walk cycle or jump feel odd. Look, let me just show you something. This is footage from another action side-scroller that's very near and dear to my heart, the Zero series. The Zero series is like the Mega Man series' cooler, older cousin from out of state, and it has got some of the best sprite animations out there of any action game I've ever played. Compare Zero swinging his Z-Saber to our main character swinging their sword in Terraria. No comparison. One is an actual animation, the other, it's just a really basic rotation. I'd love to do a video covering this stuff in more detail at another date. Suffice it to say, Terraria, with a rare few exceptions, has horrible, arguably non-existent animations. And it still looks incredible, despite being the equivalent of cut-out paper figures being moved along by popsicle sticks and imagination. Its style is undeniable, its flair unique, and its animations function perfectly for what they need to do. It's utilitarian, bare bones, and it works. When it really wants to wow you, it knows exactly how to do it. That being said, I do wish every spear in the game attacked like Starlight does. I wish every sword swung like Terragrim. I wish the guns had some animations of recoil or throwing shells. It doesn't need them, but for aspiring game devs out there, don't be afraid to put your best foot forward when it comes to animation and design for attacks. It works for Terraria, but I can't exactly recommend other people try to do the same thing. Frankly, it feels like the flashy special effects exist to help prop up the animations, and that is perfectly fine. But I can't help but wonder what it might have otherwise looked like. The sounds, just listen to these guns. I've played FPSs with guns that sound worse than this. This is amazing. Well above what it has any right to be. Listen to hitting blocks. How the sound changes when I hit a different kind of block. Breaking glass, breaking pots. Terraria is a giant when it comes to its sound design. So even when something sounds intentionally bad, looking at the laser gun here, it stands out in a comedic way, which is clearly the intention. I'd still prefer if everything sounded up to snuff with the shotgun or the dart rifle, but that's a personal preference thing, and there's nothing wrong with having a sense of humor when you're doing sound design. The music is good. Some of the tracks are really standout. Others are just solid, but it works for what it needs to do. The lunar events, the lunatic cultists, the moon lord's attacks are all great examples of this. Also, the events themselves feel like a fitting final gauntlet to add to Terraria. Beautiful final set pieces, as much a promise of something more to come from Relogic. Hopefully, at any rate. I understand it can be crippling, trying to overcome, or even recreate an out-of-this-world success. Look at Valve, Bethesda, Notch. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything that happens over at Relogic, or frankly even a passing familiarity with it, beyond my personal experience with their games. But I would love to see them make more games. Pixel Piracy and Pixel Privateers both look fun enough. I'd like to give them a try in the future. But in some ways, Terraria makes me sad. This game that I love and adore so much, made and updated by a studio of skilled and passionate people. But for projects outside Terraria, it seems like radio silence. I hope they have plans for something in the future. If anyone knows anything, please drop a comment about it, or get in touch another way if you'd prefer. Just no more astral projections. I'm still cleaning up the ectoplasm from the last guy who tried to psychically project into my living room at 4 in the morning. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe and ring the little bell thing. I stream for a few hours most evenings on a purple platform I'm sure you're all familiar with. I'm working on making my own games over at itch.io, and you can follow me on social media if you'd like. Links to all that in the description. And if you've got a game you'd like to see me review, leave a suggestion. Otherwise, I'm sure I'll be covering at least one popular Terraria mod at some point down the line. I love you. Please stay safe out there. And hey, peace out.